So Ben Cohen, you know who Ben Cohen is? From Ben and Jerry's?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. He was removed yesterday from the hearing with Robert F. Kennedy. About 15 minutes into the hearing. You have it? Go ahead.
Reflects.
Here's the hell out of RFJ. Now, look for the guy that you see his lovely face on ice cream.
Capitol Police are
There he
asked
is.
to remove the individuals from the hearing
There he
room. Members of the audience.
And he's eventually removed. There he is.
Disruptions will not be tolerated.
He's saying, Congress pays for bombs. Congress pays for bombs. And they kill people.
Members
Okay.
of the audience
Well,
are reminded disruptions
I
will not
hope
be
if we're
permitted
buying bombs,
while the
those
committee
should
conducts
kill
its
people. I
business.
mean-
Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
let me have some ice cream right now. Let me get some of that. You know?
So bizarre.
So bizarre.
And he's protesting at RFK Jr.,
RFK.
who would be
RFK.
completely aligned with him, I think, on this issue. Right?
Yes,
Like,
on that issue,
yeah.
on a lot of
Congress
issues.
paying for bombs.
And you know what? They just took some things out because RFK is forcing them to take it out of their ice cream. Ben and Jerry's stuff in their ice cream that not healthy for you, according to RFK. That's amazing.
Ice cream typically not seen as a healthy food.
No. But
Generally speaking.
their Rocky Road Rockefeller with just a little bit of petroleum in it might have been a little too much.
You know, and then you can choose not to eat it.
That's
That's a wonderful thing you can do if you don't think it's healthy. But it's just strange, the alignments here. Like,
I know.
This may be a fever dream, honestly, at this point. So I'm out on a limb on this. But did Ben and Jerry go on with Tucker recently? Is this
I don't know.
Is this a thing that
Did they?
occurred? Okay,
Yes.
people are saying yes. I think it's just, it's amazing the conversations that are happening out there right now. Look, it's good that you should be able to talk to people. I'm sure Tucker doesn't agree with most of what Ben believes of
Was
Ben and Jerry.
and Jerry on?
I think it was only Ben. Well, it was
that's
only
like
Ben.
having the cat from Tom and Jerry. I don't know which one was the cat, which one was the mouse, but
I think Tom was a cat and Jerry was the
I don't want
mouse.
an interview with just the cat.
So you want to have both the cat and the mouse there at the same time?
They're a team, really.
We'll get with our booking department. Make
All
sure
right,
we can
thank
get
you.
that to happen.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Right now, SCOTUS is listening to arguments on birthright citizenship. The focus really is on the judge's power to block policies nationwide. That's got to stop. That just has to stop. But we'll see what the Supreme Court has to say.
That's really the focus of this too. It's really not as much about birthright citizenship, right?
No,
from what I'm understanding,
This one is
more
going to be
about the
very
injunctions.
Yeah, and it's going to be very narrow, even on the injunctions, I think.
Really?
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. I had horrible pain in my hands. I had a hard time moving them. I could barely work with them. I couldn't write or type or anything. I tried everything. Then I found Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free supplement developed by doctors, and it's safe to take daily. It made a real impact for me and so many others. Try their 3-week quick start now, $19.95 at relieffactor.com. So welcome to the program. We're glad you're here. You know who's not here is Ben and Jerry.
He's here in my heart. In that way, but I mean by like the calcium built up from all of the heart disease that I've received from the company over the years. But yeah, no, he's not here. He was at that big hearing. He was. It's difficult to understand where everyone is anymore. Like I feel like at the time, this was easier back in the day. You know, like you could kind of like you hear Ben and Jerry, you knew left, right? Like it was easy. Mm-hmm. Now I miss the
days when we could just put labels on people and it was easy.
It was easy. It made things a little bit easier to keep track of. You know, like some people have put the label anti-Semite, for example, on Ben and Jerry in their company over the years. That was a label that I thought was interesting.
Right.
He's like now opposing RFK, who, I think
is on probably Ben and Jerry's side on many things.
Almost everything. Right? Like there are some things RFK has obviously changed on when it comes to the woke stuff, and I think some of the censorship stuff. Although I think I could be wrong on this, but maybe Ben might even be one of those old school socialist types that would maybe even agree with us on some of the censorship stuff, right?
Maybe.
Because I mean, it's part of the socialist movement in the United States was kind of built on the opposition, right? Was kind of built on the opposition to like the McCarthyism, and so there's some ideological.
They were for that when they were the ones being shut up.
Of course, that's the way it always works. Right?
And now that they're not the ones being told to shut up, they're like, we have every right to tell you to shut up.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Let me ask you this though, because he's also been embraced by some parts of the right. And Tucker did an interview with him. That's not an embrace. You can talk to whoever you want to talk to, right? There's nothing wrong with that. We've done it. We've talked to people on the far left, even much farther left, and crazier than even Ben or Jerry over the years. I no problem with that. As a journalist, you should do that. I mean, Tucker talked to Vladimir Putin. Yeah. Right. So did Megyn Kelly.
Yeah. I would talk to America's biggest enemies. But I wouldn't be like sucking up to him.
Right. You would ask tough questions. Right. I'm sure Tucker did in the interview. But I've noticed this thing that we're doing, and I'm a little concerned.
Okay.
Let me see if I can articulate this. Us on the right, the conservative side of the spectrum, find someone who has some crossover with us in some way, but is really a figure of the left, okay? And we kind of give them this warm embrace and say, hey, come on over. We've got this thing that we agree on. It's wonderful. And then they sort of become part of the movement, and that's totally fine. Like, let me give you an example. Tulsi Gabbard. I really like Tulsi Gabbard. She's been on the show a bunch of times. She's in the administration right now.
I'd count her as a friend.
She's great. So this is not a criticism. I'm glad Tulsi Gabbard has had this awakening over the years. I'm excited about that. But so she comes over. She's she supported Bernie Sanders, ran the Sanders campaign in Hawaii back in the day. Not that long ago. But she's had a transition. She's come over and obviously is in the Trump administration now. And so we look at that and we say, hey, that's great. We brought someone from the left over to our side. And that's great if that's what you're doing. If you're convincing someone on the left to convert their ideas into something closer to your ideas. That's a positive change. You're widening the tent in a way that we all can support. But really what Tulsi's doing in the government right now is she's being consistent with her old left-wing views on things like stopping wars and and being tough on intelligence issues with the government.
Yeah, because we woke up on that.
Well, because we've changed, right?
Yeah.
So and that's what I'm getting to here. What seems to be happening is we're embracing things on the left, and it's not us changing their views into ours. It's us changing our views into theirs, and then embracing some of those people. That's not necessarily bad if we were wrong the whole time, right?
Yeah, and I think we were on the endless wars.
Yeah, I mean, I some of that I agree with, right? The phrasing of it and maybe the scope of it, maybe I'm not fully there. But generally speaking, I think we've definitely overstepped our bounds at times. But
a lot of times.
Yeah, I don't think that's improper to say. Yeah. But I mean, again, I look at the way Trump handles it, and it's different than what Tulsi's vision of this is. I think.
Oh no, Trump
is tough.
I think Trump is Ronald Reagan. I'll pound you into the sand. I will turn your sand into glass. Don't screw with us. But then he's like, but we're buddies right now. So you don't want to be buddies? We'll be buddies.
I mean, I like to, for example of this, his Syria move, I think is fascinating. And I think the right move. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not 100%
it's a very complicated situation.
Anything.
But I think it's worth taking a stab at this. It's a new regime. The guy used to be literally in Al Qaeda.
I know.
Okay. However, maybe he's changed. I think the chances of it are low, but why not pull that lottery ticket? Because the downside is what we already had. So give a shot. You give the guy a handshake. You say, hey, we're going to drop these sanctions. We're going to give you a chance to not turn yourself into the old regime. And I think that's the right approach. I think it's
nobody is ever turned by lectures.
Yeah, or like opponents' lectures in particular.
Right. I mean, you turn people through love and understanding and giving them the benefit of the doubt until they prove you wrong.
It's a great point. And I think it ties back to my previous the way we started this conversation, which is a lot of people in our movement are being won over to previous left-wing positions by new friends. And that is not bad in and of itself, but we've done it a lot lately, and
give me some
concerned.
better examples, because I changed not because of Tulsi.
No. But the movement
and the reason why I
changed.
liked Tulsi at first was I liked the fact that she was willing to stand up to her own machine and say, "No, you guys are wrong. You guys are going down this fascistic route." And I won't go there with you. You are changing all the rules. You're not who you said you were. That's why I originally liked her, because she'd take on her own people. And that takes courage. So it shows you something about her character. Then when you get to know her, you realize, oh, we might disagree on taxes and everything else, but she loves the country. She loves and reveres the Constitution of the United States. If I can get you on the Bill of Rights, we don't have any differences too big to not be able to bridge.
And again, I don't think Tulsi is a problem.
No,
I don't. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. But you have Tulsi's in DNI. Mm-hmm. You have RFK Jr. HHS. It's a big one, right? Like, I mean, you look at the way RFK Jr. approaches. He's awfully close to someone who, like a Michael Bloomberg on public health issues. This is something now he was a kind of a Republican in New York at one point, but obviously it was something that I know we opposed and the audience loudly opposed when he was trying to control what you eat. Now he has some, I think there's some differences. I'm not saying there aren't any, but going after food companies and changing the way that's a change for if that's what the right is. That is a change for the right. We were always in favor of people making their own choices and having companies be able to produce the products within some guidelines.
Yeah, as long as they are not killing people or harming people.
There are guidelines. There's guardrails, of course, to all of this. Right. But generally speaking, ours were wide. The left's were small.
Right.
And now we've taken the guy who was the voice of the left's view on those, RFK Jr., and put him in charge of the right's view of it. And is that a good thing? Maybe it's great. Maybe he's been completely right this whole time, and we should have been approaching things that way.
I think if our society was not getting sicker and sicker and sicker, then
right, but there's reasons for all this stuff.
Right.
But we should notice those things. He's a really, I think, big example of that, because it's a massive change to the way that we've done these things. Another one is trade. Peter Navarro ran as a Democrat over and over and over and over again on these trade ideas. Now, Donald Trump has been consistent with these trade ideas since the day he was in the public eye.
There's nobody who has been more outspoken on the anti-trade up until recently than me and you. Mm-hmm. You're still outspoken on it. I think we have to give it a shot, because we're behind the eight ball here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the policy. I don't agree, but again, it's separate from whether each individual one of these is right. Yeah. But there's a lot of these, and over time, I think you'd acknowledge it's going to add up to a completely different formula. It might be the right thing for us to do.
Right, but isn't this?
But we should notice each one of these changes, I think.
Isn't this? And I think you're right on that. But isn't this the same as? I mean, you're not the same guy I met 30 years ago.
Totally.
That I hired.
We all change.
Yeah, we all change, and that's good. And we should notice when we change, because then we learn from, wait, why did I just change? Did I change for the right reasons, or did something happen to me? Is somebody around me that's changing this? We do have to pay attention to the change. But I think change is good.
It can be.
Yeah.
I mean,
if it's well thought out, if it is still built on principles, and an evolving understanding, not of truth, but how to get to the truth. For instance, the foreign war thing, I just know right now what we've been doing is not working. It's not going to make the world safer, ever, 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 ever. It's not. However,
sometimes it has. Obviously, in previous wars, but yes,
the
I
meddling of everybody trying to
you can't control everything.
Yeah, right. And it just doesn't. It's not going to work, and it's making things worse. Now, pulling all the way back and saying, you know what, we don't want to be involved in the rest of the world. That doesn't sound good to me.
Yeah, and I don't think that's what Trump is doing.
Right, but it might be the right thing. I know for sure that what we had been doing doesn't work. And I really believed in what we were doing. Well, I believed in what I thought we were doing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so we have to make changes, and changes in almost everything. And as long as it's logical, as long as you have really thought things out, as long as you're not just conforming. The really scary thing is when people begin to conform for any other reason other than logic. I've reasoned this out. I've asked critical questions, and I'm sorry. I'd love more information that might change me out of this position, but this is where I find myself at. And even if I'm uncomfortable, I have to stand here because this is my current understanding of what's best. And as long as you keep an open mind and you're constantly seeking to have a better understanding of deeper truths, then I think you're fine. But one of the things that we're going to face, especially with AI, is all of a sudden we're going to conform because Google would give you page after page after page after page of different information. ChatGPT gives you one answer, and you just assume it's right.
Yeah,
they don't give you any.
That's going to be a fascinating development in our society.
Oh my gosh! And it's already there.
It totally is.
You Googled and you had to go and reason and look at different things and everything else. This is one answer,
Here
and
it is.
I know it's right because it came from AI.
Mm-hmm.
Very dangerous.